Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending Mobile Monday Toronto's December event. Tonight's topic is launching Ting, a Canadian company's plan to take on the American mobile market. I'd like to thank Ken for attending. I've known Ken for quite a bit of time. I used to attend some of his AIMS Canada events at the height of the dot-com era. And if you're a regular to our event, you know that December has become our anchor event for carrier topics. In the recent past, we've had Public Mobile speak at our event. We also had a panel with Wind and Public. So it's a pleasure to have Ken and Ting present tonight. Before we begin with some introductions, I just wanted to thank the Momo team for their help. Jim Brown, who could not be here tonight, has been a phenomenal team partner in helping build this platform in Toronto. I'd also like to thank Janine Chin, who I think may still be outside. She's been phenomenal in setting up the events with all the logistics and the speakers. And we also like to introduce Nicole Hutzel, who's a new member of the Momo team. She's actually joined the team to help us out with our sponsorship efforts. This is obviously a very important part of our efforts in Toronto. And if anyone is interested in sponsoring the chapter, please speak to Nicole Hutzel. And I don't see her in the audience. She may still be outside, but I'll point her out to you at the end of the event. We'd also like to thank the Mars AV team for their great work in producing high-quality video content. And of course, the rest of the Mars team, which includes Janet Grant, who handles event logistics, Andrea Russet, who handles sponsorships, Peter Evans, who helps us with strategic discussions for the platform, and Don Duval, who's obviously helped us in having our events at this wonderful venue. And obviously, we'd like to also thank our sponsors who have helped us build a premier networking platform in Toronto. So I'd like to send out our thanks to Miller Thomson, Nokia, TELUS, BlackBerry, and SAP Canada, who joined us last month, and also generous support from Wind, Public Mobile, Mobilicity, BDC, Redknee, and Windows Phone. And I'd like to provide additional thanks to the working group, Chris Eben, who I believe might be here tonight. They will be actually working with us to develop an iOS app, which will help connect the community through mobile devices finally. And I'd also like to thank MarketWire, who's been with us from the beginning. So thanks, Joel and Craw and team, for all your help in allowing us to send out news, as well as Dundane Multimedia, who's helped us with our web presence. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ken Schaefer from Ting.
Thank you, Alex. It's absolutely a pleasure. I'm really excited to be at Momoto, Mobile Monday TO. Yeah, this is a great event. Thanks everyone for coming out on such a cold and rainy night. Most appreciated. So I'm going to try to fly through a bunch of stuff here and leave time for questions. I'm really excited about what we're doing at Ting, so hopefully I won't just start kind of rambling on about all kinds of details. Just like throw stuff at me if you need to, okay, Alex? All right, so if you're looking for me, it's Ken Schaefer on Twitter, and Ting is Ting for the win, and I think that's the hashtag, right? So if people are tweeting, feel free to mock me online. I can take it. All right, so this is me. I started my fascination with the new, with technology very early. I've only got about 45 minutes, so I'm not going to do a lot of stuff in between there and university, but I got a math degree. And maybe slightly more relevant is I was one of the people that started Sony Music online in Canada. So in 1994, I started doing stuff with BBSs, and then moved to doing internet websites for Sony Music artists in 1995. So I've been doing this for a while. Along the way, as Alex mentioned, I was one of the founders, along with at least one person in the room, of AIMS, the Association for Internet Marketing and Sales, which was at the time, and could still well be the largest organization for internet decision makers in Canada. I did stuff with the CMA. I started a blog to talk about online marketing called 1 Degree. And for about 8 years after leaving Sony Music, I worked with various startups and large corporations, helping them understand the internet and kind of where technology was taking us. In 2006, I joined up with Tucows. And for some of you, I'm thinking when you hear Tucows, you go, oh, I remember Tucows. That's where I used to download software. And yes, that's true. Tucows started in 1994, so even starting in 2006, I was well into like the second, third, fourth, fifth generation of people there. And it was one of the biggest download sites. And in fact, still is. So you can still go and download software at tucows.com if you're interested in that. That was in 1994. So it's a real honor to work for a company that is 100% Canadian and is older than Google, is older than Amazon, is older than Netscape, is older than Yahoo. It's quite a thing. One of the reasons that a lot of people don't know what we've been doing other than the download site is that we work through a reseller channel. So, we've developed a few different things over that time, and this is kind of our overall mission. All right. So, and I truly believe this. I think this was one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with Tucows very early on. It's simple, useful services to help people unlock the power of the internet. And as I started saying, OpenSRS is our reseller channel, so we're the largest wholesaler of domain names in the world. We have about 12 million domain names now under management, and about 12,000 resellers in 130 countries. So that's kind of the bulk of where we make our money. And in addition to that, which is really focused on that reseller channel, we also have a company called Hover, which some of you may know. It is a domain management tool, so you can go and buy at retail domains, and our goal there is to be the simplest, most useful tool for buying and managing domains on the internet. All right, so that's the background. That gives you a little context around like kind of how I got here. After kind of getting Hover to a point where it's like, yeah, this is really working, We've learned a lot about user experience. We've learned a lot about what customers care about and how to make a great experience for those customers, how to do great customer service. We started saying, what's the next act? We've already been three things now, or two things, and we want to think about what's the next big thing that we can do. And in looking at that, started surveying the landscape of technology to understand what was happening. And I think the number one thing that came to us was that these are computers. These aren't phones anymore. And, with that comes a very different perspective. This started to feel to us kind of similar to the way that we all got online, kind of in the mid-90s. And we started to look at it and say, there's a lot of similarities. If you think about the internet now, and the fact that we're connected, through broadband at home and through work with a corporate network, really what we're doing with mobile, no surprise, is this is giving us the internet while we're away, right? So this is the mobile internet. And that's a space that really felt natural to us. It was something that seemed a lot like the early days of Tucows when we were working with internet service providers around the world and helping them help their customers get online for the first time, and kind of watching as the telcos kind of stumbled their way through it and seeing real opportunities for the little guy who could do amazing service to help their customers. All right, so some obligatory slides here around, like we saw the opportunity, but it's like, okay, is this really as amazing as it seems? And yes, so the Morgan Stanley charts explain that to us. We've got a faster ramp up in mobile internet than we've ever seen. So when you compare kind of desktop internet and and some of the basic introductions of technologies over time, and then you compare those to what's happened with mobile internet adoption, just dramatically faster. And this looks at what's happening with smartphones versus PCs. So if you look at, actually I won't do it that way, that never works. If you look at this kind of orangey color, I guess, is desktops, desktop sales. And you're seeing it's about flat. You're seeing more growth in laptops over time. But the thing that we really found interesting was that coming next year, the expectation is that mobile phones, the mobile internet will actually be outselling computers. So, we're moving into a phase now where more people will be computing on that thing in their pocket than they will on that thing in their desk or their knapsack. All right, so that kind of gave us the context, and just to confirm it finally that it wasn't just about phones, it was really about internets in your pocket, or sorry, computers in your pocket. This is growth of smartphones versus the decline of dumb phones. So this is the year pretty much, I think, where at the point when you flip, right, so that there's more smartphones being sold than feature phones. I think that's the point when smartphones just become phones. We stop calling them smartphones. All right, so that seemed like a fair opportunity for us. And it made sense, it really made sense that there was this massive explosion happening now, because we've been watching this space for years, and it just never seemed that it was mobile's time. And we really feel like it is now. And to me, it's kind of the same as when you look at computers in the home. The switch from DOS to Windows made a huge difference in adoption. So the ease of use and the functionality, big difference. Similar with the internet, when we went from Gopher and WACE and FTP and Telnet and all that kind of stuff, which was great for geeks, not so much for real people. The web changed all that. And when it did very dramatically. And so I think we're seeing the same thing now with cell phones, moving to smartphones. So this is the inflection point. So for us that established, yes, there is this big opportunity. There is a real fundamental sea change happening here. And this is something that maybe we could be part of. But there's a lot of companies doing this. So why would we want to get involved in it? It's a little bit different from what we normally do. So we wanted to see if there was a gap. Is there something in the market that isn't quite working right currently, and maybe that Tucows knows how to fill? So when we look at, now we're talking about the US here, I'll probably touch on that quickly, I might as well right now. We did look at the Canadian market. It's obviously smaller than the US market. The majority of our revenues come from the US, and the majority of our resellers are in the US. So the US is a very natural market for us. And we also found that there was really good opportunities for us to partner, and I can talk a little bit about that later. So we've decided to focus specifically on the US because that seemed to be the spot to go. So in the US, the mobile internet is really those big telcos. It's these three companies have, 250 million accounts. That's quite amazing. So it's big telcos. That's what it's about. People are frustrated by these guys though, which is a real problem. These numbers from Bill Shrink here. So average consumer is paying, overpaying by 366. So basically $1 a day. People are overpaying on their accounts. And I particularly like this because it reinforces the fact that we have that massive trend of growth that I showed, but at the same time, what we're seeing is the frustration with the actual providers themselves. So that's what. So people are actually trying to occupy their telcos now. It's rather interesting. So those are just a couple of samples from the last couple of days. A lot of angry people out there. So So having seen that there's frustration in the market, that there's an opportunity, and in talking to people about that frustration, finding that it was around complicated billing, contracts that they didn't understand, couldn't get out of, high prices, really high penalties when they went over on their account, and really poor service once they were doing it. These were the kind of frustrations. So we said, what can we do about this? Well, we're not a big telco, so we've got that going for us. Sorry? Yes. And if you think about the mission in a more broad sense, because people kind of say, why Tucows? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But, this is the kind of bigger side of the mission, right? So simple, useful services that help people unlock the power of the internet. So getting the internet into people's pockets seems like a reasonable goal for us. And when we looked at it, it was the simple and useful was the big thing that seemed to be tripping people up. So we thought we could do something about that. And so we decided to create a challenger brand. It's not something that I came up with. It's kind of a common kind of product management marketing strategy kind of term. These things have been around for a while. Here are some kind of classic examples of these things. And if you look at examples like Merrill Lynch to E-Trade, Hertz to Zipcar, Bank of America to ING, one of the things that you kind of see as a similarity between these is the fact that they move a lot of the process and a lot of the service online. They make a lot of it self-serve, and they really focus on giving great service when those tools don't work. And I think that, I don't know if E-Trade tries to delight, but I think that with Zipcar and with ING, I think they really do have that focus. So that's challenger brand. So there's great information out there about kind of what makes a challenger brand and how you challenge and all those things. And we were looking at that, but when we came right down to it, we've already done this twice. So when I said we started OpenSRS, this large reseller channel, we did that in 1999, right at the point when the market was being opened up to competition. So we invented the wholesale channel as a direct response to Network Solution, who at that point had the monopoly. And we went in saying, we can give better service, we can give it at a lower price, and we can give it to more people and make a better experience for everyone. And we were very successful in doing that. And similarly, Hover, our domain management site, is a competitor to GoDaddy. If you follow tweets about Hover, you'll see it consistently referred to as kind of the anti-GoDaddy, even though we've never said that once. Well, I guess I just said it now. So, no, I said people said it. I didn't say it myself. So we've done this before. So this is what we want to do. We want to create a challenger to the big guys. So to Verizon and AT&T in particular. 200 million customers seems like a good target base to work off of. So we're creating Ting. And what I wanted to do was kind of walk you through how we thought about this and why we thought it was different. So we said, okay, how do we be a challenger to this, right? And the one thing that we kept hearing from people was that they just didn't understand why they were having the experiences they were having, and none of it made sense to them. I don't understand why I'm stuck in this phone tree. I don't understand why when I use more of their service, they start to give me penalties. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand why everything is so complicated. I don't understand why the basic features of my phone are locked down until I phone them up and make them turn them on. There were all these frustrations that we boiled down to, it just doesn't make sense. All right, so what I want to do is I want to walk you through how we made a service that makes sense. The first thing we said was it doesn't make any sense for us to try to make our own network. So we partnered with Sprint. Sprint has a great tradition of telecommunications wholesale in the US, and they've been a great partner for us. So everything we do now runs on the Sprint network. So that kind of takes that out of our equation in terms of thinking about how we're going to offer the service. First thing was to offer great rates. And our goal, our stretch goal, is that 90% of Americans should have lower monthly bills if they're using Ting. And so a big part of what we're doing is trying to get people to use a calculator to compare their current bills to what they would get on Ting. And part of that, beyond the great rates, is the fact that we've done our pricing a little bit differently than some other people. So I'll talk you a little bit about that, and then I'll show you what the plans look like. So the first is no penalties. So, with typical mobile company, if you sign up for 1,000 of anything, as soon as you get to 1,001, 1,002, all of a sudden they're terrified because you're using too much of something and you have to be penalized, and you go to very high pricing on those excess usage. So we don't do that. If you make a mistake and you pick the wrong plan, and one month you use more than you want, more than you thought, that's fine. We just bump you up to the next level in the plan for that month, and then the next month you're back down to where you said you wanted to be. And furthermore, sometimes you don't use your phone as much as you thought. So we actually give you credits. So if you go to the cottage or whatever and you don't use your phone a lot, we'll give you credits on that for your next month's bill. Wrong way. Another unique feature and something that we heard people wanted that they didn't think made a lot of sense was having a whole bunch of different plans. So we talked a lot to families like these folks here. And what we would find is that they would have 4 phones with 4 plans, quite often 4 unlimited plans, because they were so worried about any of them going over that they were kind of paying for all these maximum plans. And when we would have them use our calculator and say, okay, take the actual usage of all the people in your family, add that up, and put that in, compare it against the price you pay, what you find is that pooling all your minutes, messages, and megs across people just made it dramatically more efficient. So big savings there. And there's nothing hidden. So we have exactly one plan, and our intention is never to have more than one plan. So I'll show you the plan. So the way this works is you pick your minutes. So this isn't live, so I can't actually show you doing it. On the site you can. You can pick between 0 minutes, 0 messages, 0 megs, which means you would be paying us $0. If you had one device, you'd be paying us $6 a month. You can, if you use less than 1,000 minutes, you're going to pay us $18. If you had, another 2,000 messages on top of that, you're up to whatever that is, 26. And so on. So you can add, you can mix and match. And as I said, what happens is if you use less, so let's say you had that very light month where you had signed up for 1,000, but you only use 400, we would charge you $9. We'd give you a $9 credit. And similarly, so if you're using 4,000 text messages across your family, and the kids go crazy, they're breaking up with their boyfriends, whatever, and they go over 6,000 for that month, we're going to charge you $3 more. That's it. You're not going to get charged 10 cents a message or whatever kind of crazy things there are. And you can add as many devices as you want. So we show 6, but you could add 60, and that's not a problem for us. You all share the minutes. The minutes are nationwide. We make no distinction there. Messages are global. We make no distinction there. And we offer nationwide 3G and 4G at the same price. No distinctions there. There's no additional charges for anything except for these three surcharges here, which is if you're traveling outside the US, if you're making international calls, or if you're phoning directory assistance. So everything else, if you want to tether your phone, if you want voicemail, 3-way calling, conference calling, like all of those things are basically just included in the plan because we think that they're the basics that nobody should have to really pay for. All right, so That's how the plan works. We don't ask for a contract, so we ask people to buy the phone up front at kind of a slightly subsidized price, and then after that they're simply paying for their usage. The other thing that we found we could make a real difference, and once again this is learning from our retail operation Hover, is that the shift from phones being phones to phones being computers has caught some of the big guys a little unaware. They're still kind of doing support as if it was for phones, and the questions now are very much about how to use the phone, how to get the most out of Android, to figure out, why do I need to restart this every once in a while, and how do I get my mail hooked up with this? So what we've done is we're hiring people who are passionate about the internet, they're passionate about mobile, and we're giving them all the time they need with their customers to help them out and work them through service problems. There's no retention, there's no second tier group, there's no billing department, there's none of that. Every support person's able to answer any question that you have. And we offer something very radical called no-hold support, which kind of makes sense because when you need help and you phone us, we pick up the phone. And we've been doing that with Hover for a few years, and we think we'll be able to do it with Ting as well. All right, so those are the things that I think really kind of make us different. It was interesting as I was preparing for this today. I got notification that Rafe Needleman at CNET had actually written about us. So I guess he got into the beta and we hadn't noticed or something. So he took a look at it and loved it. And so I'm kind of debating now whether we go with his tagline or not. I don't know. Mobile that makes sense? How many? Yeah. Less evil mobile carrier? Oh, yeah. I kind of had a feeling that it would go that way. All right, so let me walk you through a little bit of this here. So, all right, so, we built this here, and one of the questions was, when we started, was, could we actually do this? And so we had some kind of key deliverables that we had where we said, we need to be able to provision these things. We need to be able to support these things. We need to be able to do billing properly. We need to be able to do kind of, these kind of certain basic things. We had these hurdles we had to get through. And I wanted to kind of walk you through this a little bit. This really started in the fall of 2010. As I said, we've been talking for years about the mobile space, kind of watching it and thinking about where it was going. But by 2010, we'd had some discussions with Sprint, kind of understood the market and said, yeah, I think there's a real opportunity. I think there is something here that we can do that's a little bit different than everybody else. We knew that MVNOs in the States had sometimes struggled. It had been a challenge. And when we examined those, we said, well, most of them were largely doing the same thing that the big guys were doing, just on a smaller scale. They were using off-the-rack, well, off-the-rack's maybe not the right word, but they were using standardized packages for back-end billing systems. Their provisioning systems and all these things were the same. So they ended up with kind of cookie-cutter offerings, largely different based on what target market they were going after or what customer base they had kind of already installed that they could market to. So we said, if we do it differently, then we didn't think we had to worry too much about that. And, interestingly for us, Sprint was kind of playing the same role for us that OpenSRS plays for web hosting companies around the world who are our primary customers for them. So we had a sense of how, how a reseller could, as a retailer, how we could build something very different on a standard wholesale offering from what had been out there before, because we had seen our customers do it. In the winter, we started doing the modeling, so we started working through pricing, how can we make things different, explored lots of different approaches to pricing. So what you're seeing here is not where we had originally started. We actually started with a pure utility model, where it was just pay for messages, pay for minutes, pay for megs. That was it. And so we started to go through that process. And in the spring, we started building things, working out concepts for what the website would be like, doing a lot of the back-end work to figure out how the provisioning and billing would work. And while we were doing all that kind of the plumbing, the back-end systems, we got very serious about understanding the market. And we started doing a lot of focus groups in the States and showing them all kinds of different concepts around how we would approach this, testing the name and those kinds of things. And got a lot of amazing feedback. So in fact, we changed a lot of what we wanted to do as we went to market through those focus groups. I'd always been very skeptical of that as a way of gathering information, but it proved very useful for us from a product standpoint. And then the summer was just build it, just kind of everybody heads down, let's make this happen. And what we did this fall, so starting in October, we have launched a private beta. So right now we have a few hundred people who are in a private beta, who have access to the full site, essentially everything that we're going to put out, although we keep enhancing and building on it and learning an incredible amount. I think if we've done anything smart, it's been our commitment to approaching being a telco, a mobile provider, as if we were a web startup. So we've tried to take as much of that. We do agile development in-house. We do release notes for the site now and things like that. So we kind of take that approach. And our expectation is that we'll go live in a few months, fully live, like live open beta. And as I said, the community has been really important to us. So we, when we launched, we said, okay, tell us what's wrong, tell us what's broken, tell us what you could make better. And as you can see, people were very vocal. We had a lot of people giving us feedback on things that we could improve, which was incredibly successful. And this is a fairly typical kind of conversation. So Dave here was looking to modify his plan. So it says he started with 500 minutes when he was testing, but he wants to go to 2,000 minutes now because he's starting to move all his phones over to Ting. And so when he tried to change his plan, it didn't do anything. And so he said, I think something's wrong. And what we had found was that this was actually a mistake on our part because it changes, but it changes on your next monthly cycle, right? So we can't go back in time and change what you paid for your plan for this month. It's for next month. But we didn't tell him that anywhere. So we got back, we got great feedback from him, and now we're going to incorporate some kind of message there that lets people know about that. And it's just hundreds of little discussions like that, hundreds of little refinements that are really helping us make the site. As I said, we're posting release notes. We're doing updates to the site pretty much every 2 weeks. We're on the fifth revision of the site now since the beta went out. That'll be out next week. And what we're starting to get now is real interest from people about getting into the beta. So it's great because we're adding second and third and fourth waves of beta participants now. It's been really good for us. All right, so I want to show you a couple of pages. Demos may be a bit of a grand word, but I wanted to show you where all that work ended up getting us. So this is the home page. This is the home page of Ting. And what we're doing here is we're basically highlighting the different advantages of the site, trying to help people understand how we're a little bit different, and trying to make it easy for them to kind of drill into things that'll make a difference for them. One of the key things is getting people to use the calculator. So the way our savings calculator works is we allow people to enter in as many, so we encourage them to use their actual bills, and we try to get them to put in as many bills as they're willing to put in because their current provider, most likely, is charging them the same every month. And their usage is changing every month. And with Ting, they will see those changes. They will get credits, and so 1 month doesn't always give them a natural kind of answer to that. So in what I've put in here, you see, this is with two people, having a $120 bill between them, and I've kind of, plotted out what their minutes, messages, and megs might be. And you can see that there's a slight difference here between the two and a $468 savings. In fact, we've actually had to make videos because through the focus groups we found a lot of people really didn't understand their current mobile phone bills. So we had to do videos to show them how to deconstruct their phone bill and figure out what all they're paying for and stuff. And those are proving popular as well. Walk them through an easy getting started process. So with us, you're buying the phone. We're online only, so we're shipping the phone. And then the next time you log in after it's shipped, your phone will be showing as being ready for activation. You click a button and it activates it. And in that process, you choose your plans. A decent selection of devices is one area where we want to kind of get better in the future. But we're starting with that, and we've got a few new ones coming out in the winter. We're really big on helping people. We want people to phone us. We want people to use the support tickets, but one of the other things we've done, kind of building on the experience that we have through Tucows, and really trying to help people understand building tutorials and those types of things, is we spent a lot of work doing hundreds of tutorials around how to use Android and how to use popular apps for the service. Because what we're finding is a lot of people would get the phone and then they wouldn't know what to do with it. I'm trying to help them with that. This is what your account looks like once you're logged in. So what you're seeing here is, this is actually my account. So we have, you can't see it on here, but I think there's 33 phones in here because it's all the Tucows corporate phones now. So if this was live, as I moused over this, you would see which phone it is. You can name the phones by whatever you want. You can give them nicknames. You'll see what the usage has been for the month. As you mouse over things, you'll see, we'll give you estimates based on your current usage, what your maximum is for the month, that kind of stuff. And we let people set alerts at any level. So for minutes, messages, and megs, people can set their own alerts at any level for each of those three. And the alerts can go out to a text message, an email, or they can have a human phone them and talk to them about it. Phone bill, nice and simple, trying to keep it clean. And this is where you control your phone. So once again, trying to make everything explicit, nice and simple. You're in fact seeing the defaults for what's turned on. And I think this could be the most important page on the site. You'll see that from the Your Accounts page, so every time you log in, you see that you have the ability to cancel your account. So we're quite happy if people aren't happy that they can leave us. We don't want to try to tie them in if we don't have to. And that's what I wanted to show you today. I hope you think that we've tried to make mobile make sense and that we've been somewhat successful. Seeing a couple of nods, that's good. So I will take questions based on that. Yes. Oh yeah, there's a microphone because we're recording tonight, so.
You said that you're targeting the US, Ken, but is this available in Canada?
I guess if the economics were right, depending on your situation, you might actually find it cheaper here to buy the US phone and use it here. But no, we're not available in Canada right now.
Let down, Ken.
Yeah, we'd like to. So as soon as we could find a good provider, like if we could find a good carrier to partner with, I think we'd really want to be in Canada.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Quick question about your name. Because this is Multicultural Canada, when I think of Ting, I think about that fizzy grapefruit drink from Jamaica. Anybody else know about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which I like. So tell me about how you got the name.
So we, as a domain registrar, we have access to a massive amount of domains over the time. So over 11 years, we've accumulated a lot of names that other people didn't want. And we've also acquired a portfolio of names that are based on surnames. So we have lots of different names that we have available to us. So there's about 100,000 names that Tucows personally owns. No, personally, that's not the right word. Well, corporations are people. So yes, so personally, Tucows owns about 100,000 names. And it just so happened that Ting was one of those names. We own Ting.com. That's the same way that we got Hover.com. So we're very lucky. We launched a Whois tool and we own SmartWhois.com. So it's one of those rare things as a marketer where typically you spend a lot of time trying to figure out a name based on what's available out there. We go through a database of 100,000 names and look for something awesome. And once we hit Ting, it was just, how could we not use that? Yeah, and there's a bunch of Tings. So people keep saying you got to have a contest where the Tings are there, and they're giving out Ting drinks, and so yes.
Two questions. Thanks a lot, Ken. Very interesting. Who is your BSS OSS provider that you're using?
Our what? I'm sorry?
Your BSS OSS provider that you're using with Sprint?
I don't know what that is.
The person that's doing your billing platform for you.
We don't have one. We built our own.
No, who's connecting into Sprint with you, for you? You have to have somebody that connects into Sprint.
We built our own.
And you're connecting into Sprint directly?
Yeah.
Yourselves? Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why we're different than MVNOs, right? We're a technology company, so when I talked about those 12 million domain names and the millions of mailboxes we have, each one of those is a service that's sold on a monthly or yearly basis, and we're billing and provisioning for those, in real time across 12,000 resellers. So we already have experience with kind of massively complex billing and provisioning issues. So for us, getting the API from Sprint and just coding to that was
So you're using their wholesale platform and just writing the APIs.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. Next question would be, what is your go-to-market strategy? Like, how are you going to get people to know that you exist in the United States?
Right, great question. So there's kind of two sides to it. We certainly hope that there's going to be some word of mouth around the fact that we're a little different, and the fact that CNET covered it today when we're not really officially launched was encouraging around that. And we feel that there's so much goodwill and in social media these days. If you can build a great product, we're almost at the point now where people will come if you build a great product. Of course, we're not counting on that. That wasn't the idea behind the business, but we think that we'll get a fair bit of the way that way. The real power that we have is the fact that we have those 12,000 resellers. So we have about 6,000 of those resellers. It's 5,000 or 6,000 of those resellers are in the U.S. Those are active resellers. They're domain hosts. They're business integrators. They're all kinds of people. And we've been talking to them. They're very excited about selling Ting. Right. So we feel that selling into their customer base, which is tens of millions, probably hundreds of millions of customers, is going to be really an exciting opportunity for us.
Very cool. And final question, are you using Brightstar or anyone like that for your handsets?
Arrow Voice.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the speech so far. It's very interesting.
Oh,
I was wondering, based on the lack of enthusiasm for existing carriers in the US and based on the feedback you've gotten so far, what do you feel like is your biggest challenge going forward?
I think that the online experience, like the online-only experience, will turn off some people. But I think that there are people that just want to go into the store. They want to be able to talk to someone and hold a device. And I think that will be a bit of a gap for us. But I think that that's kind of standard for anybody that's doing online commerce. There's always going to be people that are just kind of uncomfortable with that experience. When you look at the fact that people are buying diamond rings and shoes online, I can't believe that there isn't an opportunity to sell phones online as well.
And sorry, as a quick follow-up, do you plan on at all moving into the sort of bricks and mortar model, or are you going to stay strictly online?
So I can't see us having our own stores at any point, but I mean, never say never. having retail partners, having retail kind of wholesalers in our model, retail resellers, I think could be possible. It's not part of the plan right now, but I could see it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The only thing that you have mentioned up to now is Android. Are you able to handle other devices, or are you limited strictly to Android?
Right now it's Android only. Well, it's Android only in terms of smartphones. We also do data sticks and MiFi devices, and we have a couple of feature phones, but we're just doing Android right now. We want to focus on that. That's a real area of growth in the market, obviously. But we are taking a close look at RIM as the home team. We'd love them to succeed, so we're kind of waiting for them to figure out how they're going to succeed, and then we'll be able to get on board with that. So.
Okay. The other thing is that you mentioned that depending on the usage, you can save someone a few $100s a year.
Yeah.
What I am looking at is an area where you can save someone thousands of dollars a year: international roaming,
Right.
both for data and for voice. What are you guys doing about that?
Yeah, so for now, our focus has really been on making it low cost. So the costs that we have are very competitive in the US market. I'd say they're typically at or better than what you would get when you have a plan in the States that includes international calling. So we feel good about that. And then long term, we're very happy to see people offloading from our network onto Wi-Fi and other channels. So, we're very happy to teach people about Skype, about how to make sure that their phones go to Wi-Fi. We don't want to really have all their usage. We want them to have the best experience possible. So for things like international calling, one of the things that we're looking to do is to really tell people about, how to find hotspots and how to use voice and data that way.
So am I reading that you have no special rates or special arrangements for someone who is traveling?
I missed the last part, I'm sorry.
Okay. My concern is not when I am in the US or in Canada, am I now going to go to Wi-Fi instead of paying 1.5 cents a minute.
Right.
I am talking about when I am in Europe and it costs me $2 a minute.
Yeah.
Or
sure.
3 cents a K for data.
Yeah. So right now we don't have a big answer for that, other than here's how to get on a Wi-Fi hotspot in Paris. But we would love to do that. Yeah. I think that we have a kind of history of tinkering and pushing the edges a bit of the industries that we get into. So we haven't done that much yet that we can envision. So I'd say what you're seeing today is us getting started,
Okay.
Baby steps.
You sort of stole my first question there just now about international roaming, because that is a big charge.
Yeah.
And I can comment, one thing I found in traveling to Europe is there's a lot more Wi-Fi spots than there are around here.
Yeah.
And I just turn my iPhone to airplane mode and use Wi-Fi. But sort of an adjunct question is, do you have your own SIM in the phone?
We're on Sprint, which is a CDMA network.
Oh, okay.
So no SIMs.
So there's no SIMs.
Right.
That eliminates
So-
one possibility for international roaming.
We do have some phones coming that have SIM slots as well. So there will be some options there. So in the new year, we're going to have the Photon. It's Motorola, right? I always draw a blank on that. It's Motorola. Yes, thank you. The Motorola Photon will be coming out, which is a world phone. So it's CDMA in the US, and then it also has a SIM slot.
Because there are a couple of companies in Europe that provide international roaming based on SIMs.
Yeah, it's an interesting model, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, at the back, thank you.
I commute on both sides of the border.
Yes.
So I see Canadians working in New York State, and they have this problem with two phones. And I know when I'm down there, I have a US phone, I have a Vonage, I'm really connected, and then I have Rogers here. Couple of questions. Americans are used to buying their own phones, not necessarily through a carrier. So through this, you absolutely have to use one of your phones?
Yes, right now you need a Ting phone to use Ting. We're looking at options for bring your own device, but nothing right now.
And then you would think that because the US and Canada borders each other, that there wouldn't be that international long distance, but there is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so you made a comment earlier, well, you could bring your US phone up to here. You still get roaming charges, right?
Yeah, it really depends on what you're paying and what your usage is. I think for most people it's not realistic. The one interesting thing that we've heard from people, we have a very international audience, and you know, as we've kind of been having discussions with people, we've found a lot of people who travel into the U.S. Who would like to have a phone every once in a while when they're in the States. So if you think back to the way the plans work for Ting, if you have zero usage, you're only paying to keep the device active on the network, which is $6. So essentially, you can buy a Ting phone for when you're in the States, and just put it in a drawer the rest of the time, right? So, you know, if you're a snowbird, it's like $36 for the 6 months you're not there or whatever. So
Yeah, because Rogers has a separate fee for, you know, a digital roaming that,
Yeah.
I mean, I could buy a whole new car practically by the time I'm done with that. So, okay, thanks.
yes, you know, I think the number one thing that I'm like really excited about is a whole bunch of geeks finding Ting and then giving phones to their moms and dads and grandmas and saying, here's a phone. Don't ever worry about a plan ever, right? Because their little bit of usage is just going to fold into your account, right? You can manage everything online for them. You can even turn off and on features for them. Just keep it charged up and it's fine. It's always there for you. I think it'd be great. Yeah.
I have a comment and then
Sure.
a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
I hope you're bill in advance, pay in advance.
I don't know what we are. We're kind of a hybrid. Like we're not really postpaid, prepaid. I don't think we quite fit into that. Mm-hmm. So you pay for the phone up front.
Yep.
And then we do have you pick your plans and pay 1 month's worth. Mm-hmm. But as you saw, you could actually pick zero for everything. So
Yeah.
people don't have to pay up front. And what we do is we settle up at the end of the month.
Okay. The other questions I had, one was, how are you going to position yourselves against Metro and Leap? Because they're, you know, the price leaders in the market down there with unlimited data and everything. And the second sort of thought is, there's a lot of talk now in the US about giving free voice, that they're going to looking at converting all of their billing to data. So I'm assuming you've taken that into consideration as well.
Yeah, our expectation is that things are going to move more and more to data over time. Absolutely. And you know, in terms of the other small carriers, you know, I think that they will appeal to some people, and I think Ting will appeal to some people. You know, we're not looking to, you know, dethrone any of the big guys right now. So, yeah.
Metro's at 11 million and Leap is at 8 million. So
Yeah, they're still little
pretty
guys though. Yeah.
All right. I have a question, actually 2 questions. Is Metro going to target the business sector, like provide their services as bulk to businesses?
Sorry, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we started out, we didn't really think much about small business. But as we started talking to people, we saw there was a huge opportunity there. I think we'd really underestimated that. It was one of the early things that we learned. Mm-hmm. And our expectation kind of like 5 months ago was what we build now is Ting for people, and now we need Ting for business.
Okay.
And the more we looked at it, we realized that families and businesses are awfully similar. The amount of control that they want over individual devices, the ability to kind of move things around, budget things independently, you know, alternate payment plans, like things like we're going to support PayPal and ACH and things like that. So, you know, like all those things that we thought of as business things can also be very compelling for families. So we may at some point add features in that are more kind of business friendly, but I'm not 100% sure right now that we would ever have a business offering per se. Mm-hmm.
What would be your possible strategy to attract businesses into your services?
That's where our resellers really come in. Yeah, because those 6,000 resellers in the US, with their millions of customers, many of those are small businesses.
Okay, the other question I have is that how you're attracting more customers through your online presence, like social networks and everything else, or you're through advertisement on subways and cities and everywhere else?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever be sponsoring the Super Bowl, no. Right now there's no plan to do any of that. It's purely online. It's referrals, it's treating people right, and it's been incredibly successful for us at Hover. I think we got maybe one last question. Is that okay? Or yeah.
For all the aspiring entrepreneurs who want to also create their own less evil carrier, and having been there yourself, could you share with us what you might do differently and some of the lessons learned through that journey?
Well, I think we're pretty early in that journey. I think we'll probably have lots along the way. I really think that it was, despite the fact that we've always tried to be incredibly customer focused and try to think from the customer back, we still found ourselves tripping on stuff where it was like, oh, well, that's the way the industry does it. For example, when we launched, we asked people for their social security number. And people said, why do you want my social security number? And they're like, well, everybody else asked for it. Why are you having a problem giving it to us? And then we realized everybody else was asking because they were all asking for contracts. So it was like, yeah, okay, we really don't need to do that just because everybody else is doing it. And so there were a few things like that. But, I'll come back in a year or two and I'll tell you all the horror stories we've come along the way. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. I'll hang around a little bit if people want to ask questions. Alex, thanks once again. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Just some quick notes. Our next event is on Monday, February 6th, 2012. So happy holidays and see you in the new year. Thank you.